Good day. It's Sunday, just after Christmas, and just wanted to shoot a new video. Been reading quite a bit lately, and wanted to talk about a few things. Those things being XMen Legacy. Captain America and Black Widow. Let's try about there. How's that? Daredevil. Trying something different with the camera. I got the camera back a little further, and I'm hoping that where I'm sitting back here, there's not going to be as much sound of the focus as it's focusing on. Very excited. So Daredevil End of Days and Secret Avengers. So as you can see, it's a Marvel pack of stuff. I'm surprised at how much Marvel is appealing to me these days. DC is still something that I read, and there's still a lot of DC on my pull list. Not all these are on my pull list yet. Daredevil End of Days is the only one that is out of this pile. But I wanted to focus this video on Marvel stuff, just because it's been impressing me, and I've been drawn to it by either some of the writers that I've seen on various things, or some of the artists that they seem to be getting. Both names that I know and names that I don't know. So we'll start with this. Actually, I'll kind of give you one of the most impressive things to me about Marvel, the way that it's been going lately, in my mind, or in my world of comic reading, is that I'm reading these titles and I'm finding I don't need a lot of backstory. I've never read X-Men comics. I've never followed that world. I don't know any of the characters really, like I don't know them in any sort of detail. Broad strokes, obviously. I don't know much about how Marvel deals with the multiple Earths and multiple worlds and timelines and all that kind of thing. I don't know a lot of the details in that either. I don't know much about Captain America. I don't know much about the Avengers period, except for, what I've seen in the movie and what I've started reading now. And the thing that's most impressive to me about all of that is going into these, granted something like XMen Legacy is a Marvel Now title, where it's specifically starting over to get people exactly like me into some of the comics. But I'm finding that because of the writing style, I don't need to know too much of that. Sure, I'm probably losing some of the kind of nicer details when you're dealing with a longer run series, when you see somebody else starting to write the characters that you know, their kind of takes on some more subtleties about the character. But I'm finding I'm not lost reading the books. I'm not going in, don't know what the hell's going on and everything. It's kind of laid out really nicely, and they all are their own little stories. But they do kind of explain the world well enough, and when there's stuff that's not explained, I'm finding it gets explained in a couple of issues. It's not one of those things like, we don't need to explain it because if you've read these other ones you know about it. It's kind of pertains to that actual story, and it's about the writing. And that's been kind of amazing to me, and made me appreciate Marvel in a whole new level. I had a thread that I lost. Marvel Now was the only title there. There's a couple. Going to do another video, I think, with my son. I've talked to him about it a few times. We're reading some older Spider-Man. We've read the first two of the Marvel Now Avengers. We've read the first two of the FF. And we've read the first two of Uncanny Avengers. Uncanny Avengers, I'm not so sure if I'm going to continue reading with him. I get the impression that one might be a little more older. But the other three we're still reading, and we love the new Avengers. We're blown away by the second issue. Both of us are really enjoying it. And FF, I'm getting a real kick out of it too. So I'm hoping to have a video where we talk about that, and then, child's perspective on Marvel Comics and my perspective on Marvel Comics going into it with this Marvel Now thing. So let's get into it, and we'll start with XMen Legacy, which is up to issue number 3. So there's number 1, there's number 2. I've read number 1 and I've kind of browsed through number 2. I haven't read number 2 yet, and then number 3 I picked up just yesterday. There's a little shop across the road here. They had 1 issue left, so I thought I'd give it a try. He had a big sale on for the whole Boxing Week. I managed to pick up some back issues for really cheap. A bunch of these Secret Avengers I got from there as well. So David Haller is the main character, Legion. He's the son of Professor X. Now, I know that a lot of you are going to know all this stuff. So I'm not telling you maybe some information that you don't already know. It's just I don't know what the beforehand has been. I'm assuming there's been a book on this character before, or he's played a major part in the X-Men books, seeing as he's Professor X's son. So number 1 starts out with, issue 1 starts out with, kind of look at like a prison, and as it kind of goes through, you see that Legion, this David Haller character, is coming out of meditation, and the prison kind of represents all these different personalities. He's got like a multiple personality disorder. I think he's probably been psychotic in the past, and he's probably done a lot of damage, is the impression that I get. And his guru, whose name is Mirza the Mystic, I put some notes in front of me here, that's why I keep looking down. Mirza the Mystic is helping him meditate and kind of control these personalities, and how they're doing that is kind of visually represented by a prison where all these characters, all these other personalities are in their own cell. One of them is trying to get out and trying to kind of gain control of the body, but he's doing his best to kind of keep them all in check. Professor X dies, and that causes a kind of like a rift, like a psychic disruption in David. That's kind of putting him more on the edge. I never heard of the artist or the writer. Tang Eng Huat, I guess, is the artist, and Simon Spurrier is the writer. Never heard of either of them. It was during a time, there was a slow couple of weeks at my comic shop, and I decided to try a couple of Marvel titles, because there had been ones that I'd looked at kind of week after week, and this one was based solely on the artist. It's a very kind of graffiti style of art. Let me just go to the one that's open here. In my mind, very graffiti influenced with some of the character design and things like that. So that kind of drew me to it. And the writing is actually pretty good. Again, even though I don't know the history, it's a story that I think I'll be interested in following, just to kind of see where they take it. And they're starting to introduce like the X-Men characters coming after him, and you know, his kind of in what I read in the issue 2, his kind of grasp on sanity seems to be slipping a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just he's getting more control. I don't really know. Either way, so far it's keeping me interested enough to keep going with it. So if you're not reading that one, that might be something to check out. I don't know what people's thoughts are on the Marvel Now thing. I know there's, I'm sure, a variety of things as far as why would you end some series, just start them again. But this seems like it's a standalone thing. Obviously correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, if this Legion character's had a series before. But I'm assuming he hasn't, but I don't know. So next we'll just kind of quickly talk about Daredevil End of Days. No surprise that I'm picking this one up. I think I'd mentioned it before in something. Really, really like it. Daredevil is dead. In the first issue you see him get killed, or so you think, because obviously later on there's a figure that resembles Daredevil that's following around Ben Urich, the reporter for the Daily Bugle, who's looking into his death because his last word was Mapone, or Mapone, or something, M-A-P-O-N-E. So it's just following him as he's talking to people from Daredevil's past, and obviously in one of the books was Elektra, and it's great. You know, some Sankiewicz artwork, Jensen, Hollingsworth, Mack, and written by Bendis. And I'm really enjoying it, as I am with all Daredevil titles. He's quickly becoming one of my all-time favorite characters. I've really felt like I've really dived into Daredevil this past year, what with reading like the 80s, a bunch of the 80s issues that I got, and then some of those collections that I'd shown off before, and the new series I'm really loving, and then this one I'm really digging as well. Yeah, I mean, I guess because he's kind of a darker character, I'll just show you this one thing here. I never do this. I did pick up the Variant issue for number 3 though, because I just thought it was pretty beautiful, and I do have the other Daredevil one where it's Daredevil by Elektra's Grave, so I thought this would be nice to have as well. Keeping it sealed though, since it's the same story. Cost me $10 for one comic, which is a bit much, but what was I going to say about Daredevil? Oh, as far as like it being a limited series to 8, that doesn't bother me, and I hope. I understand the companies wanting to have stories that are smaller like this to kind of tie into the rest of the series and tie into the Marvel or DC world. I'm okay if it doesn't though. This is an interesting story. It's kind of getting, you know, almost like a, it's very kind of Citizen Kane-y, right? I mean, he said this one last word before he died. They're going and getting perspectives from other people on him. I'm sure that's going to develop with the next 5 issues. How people see him and what Daredevil meant to each person. And then there's this figure kind of following them around, so we'll see how that all ties out, but I'm fine if it's a standalone kind of thing. It doesn't have to tie back in, and that's one of the things that's bugging me about some DC stuff, especially like this Rot World. It either seems to go a little crazy, like this whole Death of the Family thing. As much as I'm enjoying it, it really feels like that's... I haven't followed Batman for a long time. It seems like it's really a mile away, and it's been that for a little while. It sounds like he's got a son, and there's this owl stuff that's happened. Now the Joker is killing a bunch of people, and it seems like some carnage, and like I said, it's enjoyable, but it really feels like that whole world has kind of gone darker and darker. With the Rot World thing, it seems like they're taking this other path, but I just have a feeling with that one it's going to eventually come back to tie into the DC universe, and instead of letting it be almost like this Elseworlds thing. And this, so far, to me, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like we're doing it because we want to shock you. It feels like, hey, we've got this kind of neat story that I think would be great in an 8-issue miniseries. And if it does happen to tie back into Marvel, that's fine, I suppose, but I kind of hope it exists just on its own. It's kind of like an offshoot, almost like a what-if kind of thing. What if this really happened, and what would that look like, and then have that be the end. So either way, that's on my pull list. That one I'm definitely going to finish out, as I am with all Daredevil. We will talk about Captain America and Black Widow. So this is issues 636, 637, 638, and 639. I'll just quickly show you those. There's one there. One there. I got all these kind of at the same time. And the thing that brought me to them was Francesco Francavilla, his artwork. One of those names that I cannot believe. And also, I mean, also, that said, also Cullen Bunn, who has done The Sixth Gun, but for me, he'll always be associated with the Damned series that I absolutely loved. And if you don't know it, it's worth going to search for it. The company that released it right now is escaping me. I don't know if it's Archaea, A-R-C-H-A-I-A, the ones that did The Killer. I'd have to look for it, I can't remember. Anyway, if you search Cullen Bunn, The Damned was there was 2 miniseries. The first one I thought was better than the second one. It really reminded me of Coen Brothers' Miller's Crossing, except with like demons and stuff like that. Really, really great read. So both of those names appealed to me in the art, but the art especially blew me away. I've never owned any Captain America stuff. Never really had any interest. But this goes into this character Kashmir Venema, and Black Widow obviously is a big one. She's going around killing, and you find out that there's other versions of this Kashmir Venema that Black Widow keeps killing, and has been hired to go and go and deal with, rather. And as I don't want to talk too much about it, that's kind of the basic premise of it. they find clones of other superheroes, and then it starts going into the multiple worlds kind of thing. Again, and where I don't have much of a history of that with Marvel. I'm finding I'm not lost. It doesn't really affect the story. The way that he's writing it is unfolding really nicely for me. And like I said, the artwork, I can't believe that this guy hasn't been on in my scope of artists. He's unreal. And it says inside, there's nobody listed as colorist. He does the art, so I'm assuming that means everything. The pencils, the inks, the colors, everything, because there's nobody listed. And he did this black beetle that just came up, which I'm going to have to look for. Just a really kind of retro style. The colors are, it's kind of sketchier, it's not as kind of detailed. Blocks of colors, and amazing to look at. And I'm really liking the characters. I'm really liking the whole thing. I'm wondering how they're going to follow this up, this Captain America, and because I guess before this was Captain America and Namor, a one-off, like one of those .1 things, and then I think before that was Captain America and Bucky, written by Brubaker, who I've got my own thoughts on in a minute here. So that's that one. If you're not picking that one up, I'd say it's definitely worth it. It's worth it for the art alone, but the story I'm actually really, really digging as well. And then last, we're at 16 minutes here. I kind of want to keep these a little shorter. Secret Avengers. I saw, again, another that I had looked through that the art kind of appealed to me was this issue here, which was issue number 34. So I picked it up to give it a shot. And I will... The art looked good. Rick Remender was the writer, who I'm a fan of. So that was kind of an easy sell. Once I started looking through it, it was an easy sell as far as let's give it a shot. So to show you one of the splash pages there. The artist is Scalera. I'll see his first name in a second here. Matteo Scalera is the artist. Matthew Wilson, color art. Arthur Adams and Peter Steigerwald did the cover art. So two different artists on the cover, but still a similar kind of style as the inside, which is interesting. So I gave it a quick browse through and had a quick read of it, and it was interesting enough. And then I started finding earlier issues for pretty cheap in some of my comic shops in the past couple of weeks. And then I started seeing names like Brubaker. Who else was in here? And Warren Ellis did some one-off stories. David Aja did some art. Malieve from Daredevil did some art in that one. And then it started getting to the Remender stuff. So they were cheap enough that I picked up from issue 6. And I think I've got a run from issue 6 to number 23. And I've read most of them. The Brubaker run. And then it went into some tie-ins with this Fear Itself crossover stuff. And there was 3 of them here. I didn't read them. I don't want to get involved in any sort of tie-in. It was just so cheap, and I like having the complete runs. Maybe at some point I'll delve into that if I kind of dig deeper into them. So the Brubaker run that I read and the Warren Ellis run is what I'll talk about. So I love Brubaker. I'm having a hard time dealing with Brubaker in a superhero world. I have on loan from a friend of mine Captain America hardcover, the Brubaker run on there. I'm having a hard time getting through that. First of all, because I'm not really interested in the character. I'm finding with the limitations of a character and that world, I don't know, his writing just isn't kind of on point in my mind. Like this Secret Avengers arc, while it was interesting, I didn't find it took enough kind of twists and turns, and because I think because you're dealing with these characters again, it's the whole thing about a Marvel universe or a DC universe. There's only so much that you're going to be able to do with them. There's defined borders around that, and I think a writer like Brubaker, when he does something where it's characters that you don't know, characters that you're just getting to know, characters that he's made up, the whole world is open to him. Then you really don't know what's going to happen. Then that element is really important with Brubaker because it's about his twists and turns. That's why he's such a good kind of crime fiction and noir writer, because he knows those genres and he knows what you can do with them, and he knows how to play with that sort of thing. So I liked it, but I didn't love it. Some of the art was great. Seeing some of the characters like Moon Knight I don't know much about, I thought that was pretty interesting throughout. Shang-Chi, I think. Shang-Chi. I think it's from a Kung Fu comic, I believe. Maybe it's just called Kung Fu. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Don't know about him either, so that was kind of interesting as well. His father is back, wants his blood so he can resurrect his body, and kind of the secret society wants to put him into government, so they have somebody on the inside who can be really powerful to gain them more power over the world. Secret Avengers are kind of this covert organization now, this side of them anyway, where they're doing some jobs that not everybody can do, and they have to do it quick and dirty sometimes, and just get in and get out and save the world, and that's it, but not make a big kind of fuss over the whole thing. One of the ones I did find, again, was a variant issue, but it was super cheap. They didn't have 12 in a regular issue, so I picked up that, even though he's really got nothing to do with that issue as far as I remember, Thor. Yeah, so the first arc was interesting. Didn't blow me away, but I enjoyed it enough to keep going. Like I said, I didn't do the Fear itself. And then the Warren Ellis run, which I think was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 issues. It's 6 individual stories. I'd say maybe 4 of them worked for me, 2 of them didn't. The one that didn't especially was this one. It really felt like poor structure, really felt like too much jumping around, and I'm okay with time shifting and time jumping in comics and movies and stuff like that. I'm completely fine with that. This one seemed to be missing something, though. There seemed to be, I don't know, I mean, obviously that might have been the point, and it just didn't work for me. It just wasn't what I was ready to read at that moment. It just seemed to be focusing on these other moments and missing like the kind of meat of the story, and therefore it kind of seemed to be a pointless kind of story. But it's an introduction to his run as far as his standalone issues, so maybe that was the point, to kind of really take you out of that framework of what's come before, and here we go, let's focus, this is just one story. This is what we're going to do. Get rid of all that other nonsense. Let's slow everything right down. The other ones, though, worked really well. The David Aja one I thought was incredible, and mostly because of his artwork, his layouts of pages and stuff, and characters breaking through their panels and panels shifting through another page, and is incredible. It's another guy that I can't believe has been on my radar until I found this, until I started reading this Hawkeye. And I know he's done with Brubaker Iron Fist, which is definitely now really high on my list. It's always been on my list, but now it's really high to try to hunt down those issues. Last thing about Brubaker is this Captain America and Black Widow. Before that was Captain America and Bucky, and that was written by Brubaker as well. And that kind of scares me off of reading it, because I'm having such a hard time with that Captain America book, and because I wasn't blown away by this. So we'll see what happens after this Captain America Black Widow. So Secret Avengers, now I'm going to be getting into the Remender stuff, and I think it again travels through worlds, and this Arthur Adams that does the covers, I really enjoy his style. It's a name that I'm going to have to look up to see, and I'm really interested to find, to read in this series. It's a new, I think starting with issue, 22. 21.1 is the last issue with kind of the main Avengers, Secret Avengers that we've grown accustomed to, but it looks like they're introducing the new lineup, because I know Hawkeye is part of it, and Ant-Man, etc. So, looking forward to it. Again, mostly based on the art, and some pretty badass fights, it looks like. So, we'll see how that goes. So that's it. There's some alternate kind of titles that I want to eventually talk about, but I don't know, I just really felt like a instead of a no capes, this is my capes episode. As far as this is the Marvel episode here. Not that I'm not picking any of that up, it's just Marvel has really been impressing me. So look forward to that video with my son. It'll be great if I can get him to talk enough on camera. It should be great to hear what he has to say about stuff. Because like I said, we've both been really enjoying the new Marvel Now stuff that we've been reading. And maybe we've just been lucky and picked up the good stuff. But how good is the new Avengers? Seriously. 2 issues in, hooked. Hooked. We read it last night. We both woke up this morning talking about it. We were talking about it last night. Like, can't wait for more. That's going to be, I'm kind of glad that one is going to be shipping twice a month. It'll be good to have something every 2 weeks of that. Yeah, I kind of want a big run of it right now just to sit and read back to back. Anyway, Marvel. Who knew? Thanks.